In the quaint village of St. Mary-Me, Miss Marple found herself enveloped in the serenity of her lovely garden, where the roses danced softly in the breeze. With a cup of tea cradled in her hand and a mystery novel resting on her lap, she relished the tranquil rhythm of life. However, this peaceful interlude was abruptly interrupted by the arrival of an unusual letter. Scrawled in hasty handwriting on a worn piece of paper, the letter bore a single, enigmatic sentence: "If you want to uncover the truth, one must visit Blackheath House tomorrow at 4 o'clock." Miss Marple scrutinized the letter, attempting to unravel the significance of its words. She was familiar with Blackheath House, a grand old estate on the village's edge, cloaked in local lore. The house had stood empty for years, following the enigmatic demise of its last owner. "This is quite intriguing," Miss Marple mused, a faint smile gracing her lips. Blackheath House holds countless tales, but this invitation could herald the beginning of something far more substantial. On the day she adorned her elegant hat and carried her small handbag, which always held a notebook and pen, she was prepared for any surprises. She arrived at Blackheath House a few minutes before the appointed time. The house, encircled by tall trees, exuded an air of mystery. The front door stood slightly ajar, as if anticipating her arrival. Pushing the door open cautiously, she stepped into a vast, dark hallway where dust covered everything and the silence felt oppressive. Suddenly, she heard faint footsteps coming from the upper floor. "Hello, is anyone there?" Miss Marple called out in a calm yet assertive voice. There was no response. She resolved to ascend the staircase, tracing the sound of footsteps to a closed room. Upon opening the door, she was confronted with a startling sight. In the center of the room rested a small box alongside another letter. She opened the letter with care and read, "Beware of what you are about to uncover, for the truth may be heavier than you expect." Miss Marple paused for a moment, pondering the letter and the box. What could this box hold, contain, and why have I been brought here? She slowly opened the box to find a collection of old photographs showing a family that had once lived in Blackheath House years ago. One of the photographs depicted a young woman wearing a striking diamond necklace. On the back of the photograph, a note was written, "Philippa, the last night." A wave of curiosity and unease swept over Miss Marple. Who was Philippa, and what happened on that last night? Determined to uncover the truth, Miss Marple decided to return to her village and begin her investigation. As she delved into the investigation, she understood that unraveling this mystery would demand her exceptional acuity. Deep within, she felt that this case could evolve into one of the most intricate enigmas she had ever faced. Chapter 2: The Secret Buried in the Past. Miss Marple returned home after her enigmatic visit to Blackheath House. Settling into her comfortable parlor, she pondered the photographs and letters she had discovered. The image of a woman named Philippa, adorned with a striking diamond necklace, sparked numerous inquiries. Who was she, and what had transpired on that fateful night? She chose to start her investigation in the village's core, and the first individual that came to mind was Mr. Bolton, the proprietor of the local library, renowned as the keeper of the village's knowledge and secrets. Upon entering the library, she discovered Mr. Bolton seated at his weathered desk, sorting through a stack of books. With a warm smile, Miss Marple greeted him. "Good morning, Mr. Bolton. I have a small question, and I believe you're the ideal person to answer it." "Of course, Miss Marple," Mr. Bolton replied, returning her smile. "What would you like to know? Have you heard of the Blackheath family who resided in the old house on the outskirts of the village? Specifically, do you know anything about a woman named Philippa?" A look of puzzlement crossed Bolton's face, but he soon replied, "Oh, of course, I've heard of them. They were a respectable family, but they suffered a tragedy many years ago. Philippa Blackheath was the eldest daughter, known for her beauty and elegance, but her disappearance shocked everyone." "Her disappearance?" Miss Merrill asked, surprised. "Yes, one night after a party held by the Philippa's disappearance was total. She was never located, and the circumstances surrounding her absence remained a mystery. Some speculated she had fled, while others feared she had encountered something sinister." Miss Marple absorbed this information, then inquired about the diamond necklace she had been wearing. Did it hold any particular importance? Bolton confirmed that the necklace was indeed a family heirloom, a unique item rumored to bear a curse. Anyone who donned it faced some form of misfortune. Miss Marple departed the library, deep in thought about Bolton's revelations. There was much to consider. The enigma enveloping Philippa's disappearance and the ominous necklace prompted her to seek out the village's elder inhabitants, who might possess valuable insights. She made her way to Mrs. Clayton's residence, one of the oldest villagers renowned for her keen memory and passion for storytelling. Upon Miss Merrill's arrival, Mrs. Clayton welcomed her with warmth and set about brewing a cup of tea. "Ah, Miss Merrill, it's a pleasure to see you. What brings you here?" she inquired. "I was hoping to gather some information about the Blackheath family, particularly Philippa. Do you recall anything?" Mrs. Clayton sighed, reflecting on a tale steeped in melancholy. Philippa, a girl of striking beauty, found herself ensnared in a web of unhappiness. Engaged to a prosperous man from the city, it was clear to all that her heart lay elsewhere. The gathering intended to celebrate her engagement took a dark turn when she vanished without a trace. "Do you think her disappearance was linked to her engagement?" Miss Merrill inquired. "Perhaps," came the reply, "but whispers of an old grudge against the Blackheath family linger in the air. The identity of the grudge holder remains a mystery. Yet that night was anything but ordinary, Miss Merrill." She returned home with new pieces of the puzzle: the cursed necklace, the mysterious party, and the unfulfilled engagement. It seemed that the key to understanding it all lay in that last gathering. Sitting in her room, she contemplated her next move and resolved to return to Blackheath House once more, sensing that the house still held secrets waiting to be uncovered. The following evening, Miss Marple arrived at Blackheath House with a small lamp in her hand, ready to examine the rooms one by one in hopes of discovering new clues. While exploring the master bedroom, she stumbled upon an old diary concealed within a broken drawer. As she opened it and began to read, the words from October 13th, 1925, leapt off the page. "I cannot go on. The truth will destroy us all. Perhaps escape is the only solution." The signature read, "Philippa Blackheath." Miss Marple closed the diary slowly, her eyes widening in astonishment. Escape? The truth? What was she trying to flee from? Chapter 3: Secret Letters and a Web of Lies. That night, Miss Marple returned home, the weight of Philippa's diary resting on her small desk. By the soft glow of a lamp, she flipped through the pages adorned with meticulous handwriting. The diary held a collection of fragmented reflections on her life, her engagement, and the recent gathering. What intrigued Merrill the most was the frequent reference to a man named Edward. "Edward understands me in a way no one else can. I wish I could escape with him, away from all this chaos." Merrill paused, contemplating. Edward. No one in the village had mentioned him. Who was this man? The following morning, she made her way to the village's old church, where the local family records were stored, seeking answers from the vicar. She greeted her with a warm smile and inquired how she could assist her today. "Miss Marple, I'm seeking information about a man named Edward who may have been connected to the Blackheath family." The vicar began to sift through the old records while Marple observed patiently. After a few moments, he discovered a name: Edward Jarvie. Edward had been part of the staff at Blackheath House, serving as the family's personal gardener. However, after Philippa's disappearance, he too vanished under mysterious circumstances. Marple smiled and remarked, "This adds a new piece to the puzzle." Intrigued, Merrill expressed her gratitude to Vicer before returning to the village, where she resumed her inquiries about Edward Grenville. She learned that he was a striking and popular young man, though many in the community believed he was too intimate with Philippa, which stirred some resentment among her family. Merrill paid another visit to Mrs. Clayton, who provided further insights. It seemed Edward spent countless hours in the garden with Philippa, engaged in deep conversation. Whispers circulated that he was in love with her, while others suggested she might be contemplating an escape with him. Merrill pondered aloud. "Do you think her family is aware of this relationship?" "Certainly. It seems they viewed him as a threat that fateful night." Some witnesses reported hearing raised voices within the mansion, suggesting a heated exchange between Edward and Mr. Blackheath. Miss Marple took it upon herself to explore the garden behind Blackheath's residence, where Edward had toiled. As she scrutinized the area, her attention was drawn to a peculiar stone that appeared to be misplaced among the earth. Upon shifting it, she uncovered a small wooden box hidden beneath. With great care, She opened the box and discovered a sealed letter within, addressed to Philippa, with the letter signed by Edward in hand, began to read. Philippa, I can't bear to see your suffering anymore. If you're ready to escape, I'll wait for you in the woods behind the mansion after midnight. We'll start a new life together, far away from these nightmares. Marple's heart raced with excitement. They were planning to escape together. But why didn't it happen? What went wrong that night? That evening, she sat contemplating the evidence, the diary, the letter, and Mrs. Clayton's account. There was a significant gap between what had transpired. What transpired and the beliefs of those around her seemed distant, yet she sensed that the truth resided in the woods behind the mansion. The following morning, she set out into the forest, where she encountered a group of local hunters discussing the area's lore. One of them remarked that the woods were no ordinary place, sharing a tale of a woman's spirit that wandered in search of her lover. Marple smiled and responded, "Legends often conceal a kernel of truth." With that, she continued her exploration, keenly searching for any new clues. As she walked, she stumbled upon the remnants of an old cottage. Enveloped by greenery, she drew closer and discovered an inscription etched into the wall, "Edward and Philippa forever." A shiver coursed through her. This place was theirs, but what had transpired here? As she scrutinized the cottage, she unearthed a fragment of ancient fabric hidden beneath the floorboards, marked by a dark stain reminiscent of dried blood. This revelation could hold the key to the answer she sought, but who would unveil the complete truth? Chapter 4: Buried Truths in the Woods. The following morning, Miss Marple sat in her parlor, lost in contemplation about what she had uncovered. In the depths of the woods, she stumbled upon the old cottage, where the inscription, "Edward and Philippa forever," whispered of a tragic love story lost to time. Yet, the blood-stained fabric she had unearthed could not be overlooked. If a crime lay hidden, the woods held the truth, Marple mused as she donned her hat, readying herself for another day of investigation. She made her way to Mr. Bolton's library once more. "Mr. Bolton, have you ever heard rumors of a crime in the woods behind Blackheath House?" she inquired, her curiosity piqued. "Oh, certainly, Miss Marple," he replied. "The woods conceal countless mysteries, whispers of screams echoing from the night Philippa vanished. Yet silence enveloped the townsfolk, paralyzed by fear of Mr. Blackheath, her father." Marple exited the library with a nagging suspicion that Philippa's father might possess the answers she sought, but she required undeniable proof to connect the dots. Determined, she resolved to revisit the cottage nestled within the woods for a deeper exploration. Upon her arrival, she meticulously scoured the floors and walls, her attention drawn to a small hollow space obscured by aged wooden planks. As she lifted the planks, a small metal box came into view. "What secrets could time have hidden here?" she murmured, her hands trembling slightly as she cautiously opened it. Inside lay a collection of old letters, each penned in Edward's distinctive handwriting. The letters overflowed with emotion, recounting his deep love for Philippa and the fears that haunted him. Yet, one of the final letters struck a different chord. "Philippa, your father has discovered our plan. We must be careful. If I never see you again, know that I tried my best to protect you." The letter concluded simply with Edward's name. Marple returned home, beginning the task of organizing the evidence lay before her. The letters, the inscription, and the blood-stained fabric. She sensed it was time to face those who held the old tale. Thus, she resolved to visit Mrs. Clayton once more. Upon reading the letter, Mrs. Clayton appeared to be whisked back to that fateful night. "My goodness, I remember it well," she said. There were noises from the woods, screams, and the sound of footsteps, but then silence. By morning, they claimed Philippa had vanished. "And what of her father?" Marple inquired. "He was quite peculiar after that. He grew increasingly reclusive. As he bore the weight of a significant secret, he was determined to keep it hidden." That evening, Marple resolved to venture into the woods one final time, clutching a small lantern. Guided by the moonlight, she approached the cottage, where an unsettling stillness enveloped the surroundings, yet an air of expectation lingered. She meandered around the cottage, on the lookout for any additional clues. Suddenly, her gaze fell upon an unusual marking on the ground beside the largest tree. With careful precision, she began to dig with a wooden stick until she struck something solid. It was yet another old box, but this one was larger. When she opened it, a sparkling diamond necklace greeted her, the very same necklace Philippa had worn the night she vanished. Marple gazed at the necklace, understanding it was the true key to unraveling the mystery. "The necklace has returned to the light," she murmured. "But will it bring all the secrets with it?" Chapter 5. Unveiling the Truth. That evening, Miss Marple returned home, the diamond necklace she discovered in the woods in her possession. Settling into her cozy parlor, she lit her lamp and examined the luxurious piece, once a symbol of beauty. Now, the key to unraveling a dark mystery lies in this necklace. It wasn't concealed in the woods by mere coincidence. It's a significant piece of evidence suggesting that what transpired with Philippa was meticulously orchestrated. But who could be behind it? Marple pondered this the next morning as she made her way to the village police station. Inspector Howard, well acquainted with Miss Marple's knack for solving crimes, welcomed her. She placed the necklace on his desk and stated, "This necklace belonged to Philippa on the night she vanished. I discovered it buried in the woods, and I believe it could uncover something substantial." Upon careful examination, the inspector took the necklace, agreeing to send it for fingerprint analysis and further investigation. "But, Miss Marple, do you have any idea who might be behind this?" Marple offered a slight smile. "I have my suspicions, but I need to piece together more clues before confirming anything." She returned to the village to gather additional information, visiting Mrs. Clayton once again. This time, she was more direct. "Mrs. Clayton, do you think Philippa's father could have been involved in her disappearance?" Mrs. Clayton hesitated. A moment before replying, Mr. Blackheath was a man of strict principles, relishing control over every aspect of his life, particularly his family. The thought of his daughter eloping with someone he considered unworthy was likely unbearable for him. That evening, Marple resolved to explore the secret room in Blackheath's house, a place where Mr. Blackheath had devoted much of his time prior to his demise. With Inspector Howard's assistance, she managed to gain entry to the locked chamber. Inside, the room was cluttered with old papers and books, and on one of the desks, Marple discovered a small notebook brimming with personal entries. She flipped through the pages of her notes until she arrived at the date of the ill-fated party, October 13th, 1925. "Philippa will not disgrace me in front of everyone. I've warned her repeatedly. If she tries anything foolish tonight, I'll deal with it myself." Marple froze in place. These words revealed her father's malicious intentions, yet he left no indication of what he did afterward. At that moment, an officer entered with the analysis report on the diamond necklace. "Miss Marple, we found fingerprints belonging to Edward on the necklace, but they weren't the only ones. There were also fingerprints matching Philippa's father." Marple smiled and said, "This is what I suspected. Philippa's father knew about her relationship with Edward, and I believe he tried to stop it by any means necessary." She gathered everyone in the living room of Blackheath House, Mrs. Clayton, Inspector Howard, and a few villagers who had known Philippa and Edward. Standing in the center of the room, she declared, "The mystery that has puzzled the village for years is about to be solved. The truth is now clear. Philip's father was the catalyst for her disappearance." As she turned to the group, she recounted the events of that night. Philippa had intended to run away with Edward, but her father uncovered their plan. He confronted her in the woods, and a struggle ensued. In a moment of anger, he either pushed her or accidentally struck her, resulting in her death. The group was taken aback by the revelation, yet Marple pressed on. Fearing scandal, her father buried her body in the woods and concealed the necklace to divert suspicion. He then compelled Edward to leave and issued threats. He pondered whether he had ever discussed it, and as the truth emerged, a wave of shock and sorrow washed over everyone for the tragedy that had been hidden for so long. Yet, there was also a feeling of resolution, knowing that justice had finally been achieved after so many years. That night, Marple sat in her home, sipping her cup of tea, and reflected, every secret, no matter how deeply buried, eventually comes to light. The end.